So, hey, Miss Jen, how are you, honey?
I am wonderful. How are you? So good to see you.
Good. So, today we are going to be talking about healing out loud. So, I just want to go ahead and introduce you guys to my beautiful friend, Miss Jan Mitchell. And I'll go ahead and read a little bit about who she is, honey, because she is all that and a cup of tea. Okay. So, Jan Mitchell is a certified grief and mindfulness coach. She's a mental health first aider and the founder of She Moves Forward Incorporation, which is a 501c3 nonprofit that's dedicated to helping individuals heal forward through loss. That's a bomb. With a rich background in patient access and active involvement in both National Healthcare Organization and the Indiana Alzheimer's Disease and Research Center. That's a tongue twister.
Yes.
Jan brings deep expertise, empathy, and compassion to her work. Hailing from Indianapolis and a proud mother of three beautiful daughters, Jan's life changed after the profound loss of her husband, an experience that led her to transform pain into purpose. Her insights have been featured on platforms like Wish TV 8, okay, nationally syndicated Gospel Grind Radio, and the Speak Up Sis podcast. A powerful and compassionate speaker, Jan lives by the mantra: the moment I allow myself to feel is the moment I heal. I choose to heal. Even amidst of her many commitments, she remains devoted to living a family-centered life, staying connected to her faith community and helping others find their strength, purpose, and true healing after loss. Jan is a graduate of Indiana Wesleyan University and Advanced Ministry Institutes and has authored and co authored several books, such as Suddenly Single,
Yes.
Surviving the Demise of Your Relationship, and then Suddenly Single, Navigating Grief While Colliding with Purpose. And the next one is How to Not Go Cuckoo While Caregiving. I need that book. And then 7 tips for managing stress and grief as a caregiver and happy heavenly birthday daddy. Now, this was written with her youngest daughter and her granddaughter. With her passion for advocacy in healthcare, she aspires to become a healthcare attorney. All right, now championing the rights of patients and caregivers for a more equitable and compassionate future. This is so needed,
Yeah.
and let me tell me how I can just cheer you on, honey. I'll do it. All right.
Thank
So,
you.
so Jan, I just want to say thank you for being here. Thank you for agreeing to this. Thank you for your yes. This is such an honor. You are such a beautiful person. And then the way I watch you, because we got those people that be watching, honey.
Yeah.
I'm one of your watchers.
Yay.
And so I watch you how you heal out loud, and it is just phenomenal. So I just want to thank you for your yes.
Oh,
Okay.
pleasure.
So Jan, in one word, and in one word, let's see. Uh girl, look, this is crazy. So in one word, describe who you are today in one word. And then tell me why that one word? Why that word?
Yes, yes. And if you don't mind, before I answer that question, I want to give out a shout out to you, how you help women heal forward. I mean, you really were, God used you as a catalyst to catapult me out there because I didn't have any idea. I didn't know anything about it, writing a book. So for you all who are listening, definitely connect with this lady. I'm telling you,
Oh
it
wow.
was life changing. She is the original visionary of Suddenly Single. Um,
Oh,
Surviving the demise of your relationship. And had you not given your yes, I wouldn't have been able to have a platform to respond with the yes as well. So I
oh
definitely
wow.
want to give that shout out. I am beyond honored to be here, to
Thank
be with the
you.
visionary, this great woman, Coach
Thank
Lady
you.
G. Yes. So, yeah,
Appreciate that. Because a
absolutely.
lot of times we listen, first of all, we didn't choose this work, we were called to it.
Yeah.
And it's enough that, while we're going through this, we
Mhm.
suffer this thing called the imposter syndrome. And
Yes.
we wonder, like, I don't think, am I supposed to be here? But then when you
Mhm.
hear someone that, you don't know this is what they're thinking, and you hear them say the words that just came out of your mouth, it's like,
Yes.
okay, okay, so I'm on the right path. And yeah,
Yes.
so that's confirmation for me. And I needed that today. I appreciate you.
Oh,
So
my
yes, yes,
pleasure.
yes,
My
yes, yes, yes.
pleasure. No, I listen, I tell you, I want to give honor to who honor is due, and definitely this
Thank
to
you.
you.
I
Yes,
appreciate it.
sure. Pleasure.
Yes.
Yes.
So that one word, girl, I want to know that one word that describe, who you are today. That one
Yes.
word.
I would say
Mm-hmm.
resilient.
Ooh.
Um, and I know that's a word we toss around a lot, and we have resilience training and coach, but honestly,
Mm-hmm.
in spite of everything I've gone through, I've discovered a new level of strength that I didn't even know I had. I discovered new
Ooh.
abilities. I
Mm-hmm.
discovered so much about myself that I had no clue was there.
Really?
Oh yes. Oh yes. I'm telling you, that
Mm-hmm.
word resilient, because of what it means,
Yeah.
it just sounds like me. Now
Yeah.
when I look at it, it's like, oh my God, I'm embodying that. But
Yeah.
a few years back, I would have never said that. Um,
Really?
oh yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Oh no. But just going through life and
Mm-hmm.
being able to bounce back, not to who I used to be,
Yeah.
who I was meant to be. And there is a difference, because sometimes we have an identity crisis, and we don't know who we are until life hits and then
Yes.
forces you to become who you were meant to be. And that's
Yes.
what resilience is about. So that's what I would say for my word is resilience.
Yes. And you know what is so crazy, because that is exactly what I would say about you.
Oh.
Listen, I be like, look at that little chick go,
Yeah,
honey. You listen, you when you wrote that book, when you wrote the book, well, when you was part of the 12, I think it was 12 of us, right? Something
it
like that. I can't remember.
was.
And you wrote your little piece, and you was like, no, I'm ready to write my book. I'm ready for it. Hey. And I mean, you just took off. You was like, yeah, ain't no stopping me now.
Yeah.
Mm-mm. So I would definitely say that, yeah, that's a great word, resilient, resilient. And you know what is so crazy?
Mhm.
Because a lot of people think that this is something that you learn to be. Resilient is not really who you learn to be. It
No,
really isn't. It's there. And just like you said, it
that's
takes
good.
something to pull that out, something that you didn't even realize that you had until you had to have it.
Mhm.
So definitely, yes. So, Jan, can you tell us a little bit about your journey,
Mhm.
being a mother, a speaker, an advocate? I want to know some of those juicy details.
The juicy details.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. So as a mom, I was a single mom for 14 years,
Oh,
um,
wow.
before God blessed me with my spouse of 5.5
Mm,
years.
mm,
His name was Stephen Mitchell. I
mm,
came with two children from a previous relationship. He came with one, and then we had one together.
mm.
And so my journey started young. I was 20 when I became a mom for the first time.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
Yes, I was a young woman. And I'm kind of glad it happened that way. That's something
Mhm.
I used to carry a lot of shame behind. Just
Yeah.
religious upbringing. It was looked upon because I wasn't wed. But I look at that now and I'm like, she's 27 years old now. And I'm like,
Yeah.
I'm still young enough to have a life while she has a life. So
Wow.
so
Yeah.
I appreciate it.
Yeah.
And so, move forward into getting married, was married for 5.5 years to a beautiful man. Wasn't a perfect marriage because we were two
Yeah.
imperfect people.
Right.
But we had a wonderful relationship with each other, had a good friendship to start us off, um,
Hmm.
and had our baby together, which she looks just like him.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
that's him with a ponytail minus the goatee. So
Uh-huh.
So she is him all over
Mhm.
again, same
Mhm.
personality, everything, very athletic. I mean,
Yeah.
him in the flesh.
Yeah.
And so, with the journey, of course, he had his injury where he had lupus and a few other health challenges.
Oh.
Yes, yes. And he was coming home one day. He was also a minister, an elder at our church.
Hmm.
He fell, had a grand mal seizure, coming in, which was unusual because normally he would have
Mm,
seizures at night in the bed. Uh,
mm,
but this time he was up walking when it happened. He
mhm,
fell, hit his head into the wall, which broke his neck in 3 places and instantly paralyzed him. My life
mhm.
changed overnight.
Yeah.
Our youngest was 8 months old at that time. So there was a lot of swift transition
Mhm.
from being a wife to now I'm a caregiver overnight. And so
Wow.
that's what
Yeah.
really pushed that's where I really learned how to advocate.
Yeah.
Because a lot of times you go into healthcare systems, especially with a situation like that, you don't know
Mhm,
what questions to ask,
mhm, mhm,
what
mhm.
to expect. You're just kind of out there with all these different things going on. Um,
Yes.
but thankfully I have a twin sister who is an occupational therapist, has been doing it for
Mhm.
25 years,
Yeah.
and my sister-in-law is an endoscopy nurse, so they were kind of coaching me what
Mhm.
I should act,
Oh.
what I should look for, so that
Mhm,
really helped me.
mhm,
In addition to I'm that person, when I found out he had a spinal cord injury, I went to the half price bookstore, bought a book on spinal cord injuries,
mhm.
looked up, got a book on the human anatomy so I could learn how to take care of him.
Yeah.
And then I attended the classes there as well,
Mhm,
the little free family classes where they train you how to,
mhm.
retrain his bowels and all. I went through all of that because I
Wow.
just wanted to know how to take
Mhm.
care of my husband.
Yeah.
But eventually, he ended up passing away after becoming septic. He was left in his stool. His bed sores, excuse me, had open
Mhm,
bed sores, stage 3 and 4, which got impacted with feces. And they
mhm.
found out later it had C. diff, made him septic, and he died 2 weeks after Valentine's Day 8 years ago. And so it was quite the journey, but it was
Mhm.
also, of course, it wasn't the journey I signed up for.
Right.
If I could have had a do-over and asked God to do things differently, it
Yeah.
certainly would have been through that way.
Yeah.
I asked him to eliminate that part of the story.
Mhm,
But it also sparked the voice where you're talking about the advocacy. Um,
mhm.
and I got some really exciting stuff going on right now.
I know.
I want to share it with you. I want to share it here. Look, you're all
Yes.
you be the first to hear
Oh
about
my
it.
goodness.
Like
Okay.
with advocacy. So
Mhm.
okay, so okay, I'm
I
getting
know.
excited again.
I know. That's okay.
And,
That's okay. That's okay. Because I'm all
woo,
excited. I'm like, okay, go ahead.
yes. So 8 years ago, after Steve had passed, it was probably a couple of years after he passed, because it took me time to heal and
Mhm.
really get my balance going. It took me a couple
Yeah.
of years.
Yeah.
And I finally came back into social media in that space because I hadn't been on social media in like 11 years.
Oh
So
wow.
I was completely off. I was incognito.
Mhm,
And I was taking this class, and one of the men actually just happened to be a man of God.
mhm.
And he was like, well, for your homework assignment, I want you to go and I want you to speak over your life on the social media, say what you're going to do, show a picture of yourself, introduce. And at that point, I didn't have any pictures up, and I had a pseudo name I was going under
Uh-huh.
because I didn't want anybody to know me. But that assignment forced me out of hiding. I was so
Uh-huh.
like, the devil is a liar. I'm not trying to be out here
Yeah.
like that.
Yeah.
But I went and I spoke, and one of the things I said is, "Oh, I'm going to advocate for healthcare, and I'm going to be a." I didn't even mention the attorney because that's something new God deposited last year in
Wow.
my spirit. But I said, I want to fight for healthcare. Not only just for the patients and the families, but also for the clinical side, because
Yeah.
I know people in healthcare are there because they want to help people.
Right.
And and so I said, I want to be able to advocate and give them a voice, get kind of past all this government red tape. I'm gonna write a policy, blah, blah, blah. Okay.
Yeah.
So fast forward here about a month ago. I'm part of a business cohort that I meet monthly with Black women, Black legacy leaders, which
Mhm,
is phenomenal under a great African American leader here. She's a
mhm.
force to be reckoned with,
Cool.
and I got accepted into her group, which ironically, and I don't mean to take a lot of time,
It's
um,
okay. Yeah, it's okay, please.
but I actually met this woman in the hospital because she had a brain aneurysm and she was on life support. So her room was literally 2 doors down from my husband's. I never knew who she was, but our family and her family bonded in the waiting room. We would pray together, we would feed
Yeah.
each other. And now this woman is a leader. I mean, she's been in politics, she has her own TV segment, and I
Mhm.
never knew who she was until afterwards, but God
Wow.
had reconnected us. after this journey.
Wow.
And now I'm part of her
Wow.
cohort. And
Really?
yes, and so I was in Chicago a couple of weeks ago, and God said, remember that policy you said you was gonna write? I'm like, yeah. He was like, well, write it up. What's the problem? And he was like, now's the time. And I'm like, well, I don't know. But I sat there and I took time and I put all the things how I want legal protection for the families, more grief coaching and support, trauma
Mhm.
informed for families,
Mhm.
all of that. I just
Yeah.
typed it up there. Um, and the next week we had our cohort, and
Mhm.
every month we have a different theme.
Uh-huh.
Guess what that week's theme was?
No.
Political power. And so
Uh,
she has, and when she has different groups, education was our last month's group, she has
mhm.
different leaders in the community who come out and speak. I got a
Mhm.
chance to meet a state representative,
Mm.
and she was talking about how to write policies, and she was a policy specialist. And I'm like, okay,
Really?
yes, and she's African American. And I'm looking, I'm like, okay, God, I know you told me to write this for a reason.
Yeah.
She told us, gave us her contact number. She said, contact me if you need me. Immediately when I went on break, I
Uh-huh.
contacted her assistant. I was like, hey, I need to
Uh-huh.
report her. Long story short, I
Uh-huh.
ended up showing her my policy, set with her in a Zoom meeting, showed her my policy. And it just so happened that the day she said our meeting was on June 18th, which would
Mhm.
have been me and Steve's 14-year wedding anniversary had he lived. She
What?
she looks at the policy. She's impressed. They've actually pushed it forward to draft as a bill, which might be voted
Oh,
on next
each
year.
guy, I almost got up and took off running.
Yes. And it's called the Stephen Law.
Jan! Oh, this is huge.
It is. I said, oh my God. And it's going to provide more protection. It's going to advocate for
I
family.
am about to be in tears.
Oh my gosh. I literally on the day of our wedding anniversary, this woman looked at my policy and I was scared because I'm like, okay, you use technology, but I also want my own verbiage in there. And she's like, this is perfect. And here's the thing that got me. She said, this is perfect timing.
Oh my goodness.
And she said, I want to meet with you over the summer. So they're supposed to work with me over the summer. Once the bill comes back, she's going to sit me down with the attorney and we're going to look through what the legislative looks like. And it's going to go forward to be voted on, hopefully in January, God willing. And I believe
Oh
he is.
my God.
Yeah,
This is so, girl,
I know,
this is
right?
amazing. And you know what? This is right. This is what gives me hope and gives me strength to keep pushing forward. Because
Yes.
sometimes we want to, if it was left up to me, I would just be an ordinary girl doing an ordinary thing, just
Mhm.
But look, how, God had it all set up. And you know what's so crazy? To your husband, rest in peace.
Yes.
Um, it's
Mhm.
so crazy how all that had to go together. This
Yes.
had to happen in order for this to happen. For this to happen, this is huge.
Yeah.
This is huge. Can you imagine the millions, not thousands, not hundreds, but the
Mm.
millions of people that you're gonna help with this?
Thank
And I
God.
know, and for the people out there who don't know, I'm a nurse. I'm a
Yeah.
nurse, and I face this every day where
Mm.
these people are not getting the treatment, and especially now because I work in a long-term care facility, and I have that's been my jam for years.
Uh-huh.
And it used to be your broken legs, broken hips,
Mm.
the physical therapy part of it, but now it isn't. It's
Mm.
transitioning, and we are getting a lot of mental patients, and these
Mm.
people are not treated fairly. And there's nobody that to advocate for them,
Mm.
and it's just getting really bad. And
Yeah.
I'm like, and matter of fact, let me just tell you this. So about a month ago, we had to call the police because this one patient, which was a young patient, was
Mhm.
threatening another patient, was saying that, I'm gonna kill you and this, that, and the other. So well, of course, we had to call the police. Well, when the
Mhm.
police got there, we was like, "You listen, we need for this patient to be taken to get some help somewhere.
Yeah.
We're a nursing facility, we're not a psych facility."
Mhm.
The police refused to help. They
Yeah.
refused to help, and it made me so angry. So I'm arguing with the police, and I'm like, "This is just so unfair. These people are sick. They need the
Mhm.
proper help. This is a nursing
Yes.
facility, not a psych facility. Who is going to stand up for these people and help them?
Mhm.
How can they get the help that they need if they're in a nursing facility, but they need to be in a psych facility? So I'm girl. Listen, we all wait all the way on something else. I don't care.
Yeah.
That's God. My
Yeah.
computer didn't cut off.
Yeah.
So, but listen, I mean, Jan, that is huge. And in
Yeah.
any way that I can help, let me know how I can be a help, spread the
Absolutely.
message, whatever you need me to do. I'm there. I am
Thank
there. And I
you.
thank you for, like, you said yes to this, okay?
Yeah.
And you're saying yes to that assignment. And sometimes we don't be wanting to say yes. But
No.
yeah. So, but anyway, I wanted to know this too. Like, so when this thing happened with your husband,
Mhm.
um, like what did it do to you? How did you feel? Like, what was your initial reaction? Like, I know you sort of kind of put your cape on, you jumped in there when it got the bought the books, read the stuff, jumped in there and was wife and caretaker. But
Mhm.
initially, what was you thinking? What was going through your mind? How was you feeling? I mean,
Numb,
yeah.
numb, discombobulated, numb. It took me, when his injury first occurred,
Hmm.
I I literally I remember, because I stayed at the hospital for the first 3 days. I literally did not eat and I did not sleep for 3 days straight because my body was in total shock. And then when I did go home, finally someone told me, "Okay, Jan, you need to go home." I remember distinctly I was trying to get dressed, and it took me almost 20 minutes to put on one pair of socks.
Yeah.
I couldn't get my mind together. It was a lot. I struggled.
Yeah.
It was just overwhelming. It was like I was in an outside of myself.
Yeah.
So it was a very, very low, catastrophic, I would say catastrophic place for me because
Yeah.
I was barely functioning because
Mhm.
I was almost like I was on autopilot. Like people
Mhm.
had to tell me what to do in order for me to kind of get my grip and sense of
Yeah.
reality because it was such a blow.
Yeah.
Um, and then, I went through the journey. Of course, I just kind of kicked in full gear.
Mhm.
And I thank God for having people that say, "Hey, you need to go eat. You need to
Yeah.
take your vitamins. You
Yeah.
need to go rest."
Mhm.
Because I was there literally
Mhm.
7 days a week, 5.5 months straight. I was there
Yeah.
hospital. Thankfully, my job gave provision where I had worked there long enough at the job I was at that moment.
Mhm.
I had worked there long enough to get paid time off, and we didn't lose anything. We had
Oh,
people
wow.
sending us money to help pay for bills. I mean, we had nothing lacking
Yeah.
time. Now, when he transitioned,
Mhm.
again, numbness. But I was still on autopilot because I was so used to just going, going, going.
Mhm.
But then it hit me. It took me about 6 months before I actually cried.
Yeah.
6 months.
Really?
Oh yeah,
Wow.
six
Well,
months.
that's because you had to be, for lack
Yeah.
of better words, in superhero mode.
Yes.
Superheroes don't have time to cry. They have to get the
Mhm.
job done,
Yes.
They have to save the day. But
Mhm.
so what was it like, like even with your kids, like,
Yeah.
how was that? How was you able to function as a mother,
Yeah.
when it came to them?
Barely, it felt like some days, barely felt like I was breathing,
Yeah.
but just seeing them up gave me life. It was like,
Yeah.
okay, I know I have to be
Yeah.
in position to take
Yeah.
care of them. And we did go through grief counseling as well.
Mhm, mhm.
So we did go through grief counseling. I had a counselor set up at the schools, at each of their
Yeah.
schools.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, to make sure that they were being able to talk to someone during that time. And one thing I will say I failed in, and I had to learn a little bit later,
Mhm.
is that it was okay to cry in front of my kids. I didn't do that.
Really?
I didn't do that. Yeah,
Yeah.
because I felt
Why do you
like
feel like you didn't? Was it a way that you thought you were protecting them, or you needed them to think that you were this really strong person and you wouldn't break, or like, so yeah, why?
I think for me it was fear. I thought I was going to crumble to the point of no return
Mhm.
because
Mhm.
the weight was so heavy. I thought, I'm
Mhm.
like, okay, if I break down, I'm not coming back from this.
Yeah.
And that
Um,
was my fear.
yeah.
That was my fear. I'm not going to come back from this.
Mhm.
And so it was like, no, I've got to keep myself together. I've got to keep it up. I if they cried, it was like, okay, all right, I understand your tears. Okay,
Yeah.
it's right. But my comforting at that time was kind of callous because I wasn't allowing myself to feel. So I was just kind of going through the
Oh.
motions of comforting them because
Mhm.
I didn't allow myself to feel comfort first. You can't
Mhm.
comfort
Yeah.
someone else until you've been comforted first.
Absolutely.
And
Absolutely.
yes,
Absolutely. Do you do you feel like it had an effect on your children, like
yeah.
a negative impact?
Oh
Mhm.
yeah, especially with
Mhm.
my middle daughter.
Uh-huh.
She that was her stepdad, but
Yeah.
he never treated them as stepchildren. They were his
Mhm.
daughters.
Yeah.
And she loved Steve to
Mhm.
death. Matter of
Yeah.
fact, she's the one when she was 3 who grabbed his hand in mine and said, "Marry my mommy," when she was 3. So she loved him.
That's right.
Yes, she
Yeah.
even at 3, she knew a good man when she saw one. So
Right. Right. So how are they doing now?
Great question. So my oldest is doing well. She's, has a daughter now and she's taking care of her and moving it forward.
Yeah.
My middle one, she's going through her teenager thing. She's processed. She went through some depression and some anxiety
Yeah.
and some self
Mhm.
cutting and some, yeah.
Yeah.
So we had to go
Yeah.
through some counseling with that.
Yeah. Yeah.
But she's doing better now. She just graduated in
Mhm.
May,
Yeah.
so she's 18 and going on honor student. She had
Yeah.
National Honor Society, but
Wow.
yeah, brilliant
Okay.
mind, definitely a
Yeah.
leader, and not a
Yeah.
follower. She
Yeah.
has her own thing.
Yeah.
She's doing well. My youngest, she's just as vibrant as ever, and
Yeah.
yeah, full
Yeah.
of life. Yes.
Yeah. So how long do you think the turnaround was for that?
uh,
For the kids, like, the span.
I would
Mhm.
say probably a couple of years,
Mhm.
because I know even when we went through the grief counseling, which
Mhm.
there's a place called Brooks Place here that's dedicated for children grieving. So it's all fun things. We were in there for at least probably a year and a half or two.
Yeah.
So
Mhm.
we were in there for a
Mhm.
while. So I think
Okay.
in that process of time, that helped them seeing other kids
Mhm.
who are grieving for
Yeah.
whatever capacity that
Mhm.
kind of helped. So about 2 to 3 years
So the grief counseling, did you guys start it prior to his transitioning or after?
after.
Mm. Do you probably think that maybe something like that, grief counseling, should probably be started during? I mean, even not knowing if that person is going to transition,
Mhm.
but do you
I
think that if
do.
you would have done it prior to the fact, all while you were going through that, do you think that things would have maybe be different or look different?
That's an excellent question.
Mhm.
And yes, I absolutely do, because I
Mhm.
think, and that was something I was actually looking into, even for, I was doing a study on actually as part, because I'm still in school, getting ready to graduate
Mhm.
again here in September. So yeah, I'll be,
I'll be there by the end.
yes, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
so that was one of the studies,
Yeah.
what does it look like
Yeah.
to have grief coaching and counseling provided prior to? I
Yeah.
mean, because really when we look at the stages of grief, that was made for the dying.
Yeah.
It
Yeah.
wasn't made for the
Yeah.
survivors,
Yeah.
but it was a way of prepping them to
Yeah.
accept it. So I think
Mhm.
it would be beneficial to have families. Granted, they tell you kind of, and I'm one of those people. It may sound a little morbid, but
Yeah.
before Steve transitioned, I studied all the stages of death because I
Yeah.
wanted to know what it would look like in that moment.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then even after he passed, I began to, okay, what does the body do after it's been buried? I mean, I
Mhm.
almost got obsessed with it because I
Yeah.
wanted to know. I
Yeah.
needed that full closure.
Mhm.
I think, like you said, it would be very beneficial to have this coaching beforehand, because
Absolutely.
I think it would prepare the families better. And I believe it would prepare the dying. So now they know that my loved ones know how to live on
Yeah.
after I have
Yeah.
transitioned. And now I can truly rest in
Yeah.
peace because I
Yeah.
know they will be messed up behind it.
Yeah. And
Mhm.
my take on that is I feel like, especially you was married, you said 14 years,
Oh, 5.5. I
five and
was
a half,
single
but you
for
was
14.
okay, so but
Mhm.
the same difference, right?
Yes, ma'am.
came different. But
Yes.
I still think regardless, even before he transitioned, there's still
Mhm.
grief. There's still
Yes.
there's still a form of death. You was used to coming home every day, getting in the bed, going to sleep with your
Mhm.
husband, waking up,
Mm,
eating, going to the movies, taking a
mhm.
drive, and there is a death of those things. So I
Yes.
think that, see, I think that people think that death means that you're gone and you're not here anymore. It could be a death of anything. There's death of relationships, death of
Absolutely.
jobs, death
Mhm.
of routines, things like that. And I do believe that there's a grieving process for death, period. I don't
Yes.
think it's just when you transition from life to afterlife.
Mhm.
I don't. So that is
True.
bomb. I'm hoping and praying that, that um th- that people can understand that,
Yes.
because even when we did Suddenly Single,
Mhm.
it was like I was grieving a death.
Mhm. Yes.
And I just couldn't wrap my head around the fact that I wasn't married anymore. Like that,
Mhm.
it was almost as though that man had died.
Yeah.
And I went through all those stages until
Mhm.
I wrote that book. I said, I have to write this book because I think this is the only way that I'm gonna get closure. This is the only way
Yes.
I'm gonna finish grieving. And
Mhm.
it's crazy too. And once we wrote that book and did Suddenly Single, and we had our conference, it was
Mhm.
almost as though, remember the dress?
I do. Yes. And the
It was,
song.
yes, honey. And so it was like a way of sort of kind of like closing that. There was a closure for me. And
Yes.
it's like after that, because I remember I was like, I'm never getting married again, ever. I'm done with that. Never for me.
Uh-huh.
Now here I am,
Yes.
going into my second year of marriage with
Woo-hoo.
this man. Yeah, the
Congratulations.
love of my life, honey. He is the love, always been the love of my life. So
Mhm.
yeah, so but it's just so crazy. I can't imagine,
Mhm.
and especially with the love of my life, I cannot imagine, Jan,
Mhm.
if I had to endure. And I'm sure one day I'm gonna have to. I mean, that's just life, but I don't want it. Well, I can't say what I want, but I can't imagine that this is something that was thrown on you. This wasn't
Mhm.
because he got old
Yeah.
and we okay, hey, we're at the end of our life.
Mhm.
This was something that was sudden
Mhm.
and it happened. And I'm telling you, I have to applaud you. That's the reason why I think I have so much respect for you because girl, you just wear it well. If you're going crazy inside your mind right now, I wouldn't know. Girl, I wouldn't know. And I didn't even know back then because you
Mhm.
wore it so well, And so I want to know. So when you was trying to get out of the bed every day
Yes.
after his transition,
Mhm.
you had these kids. Not, I know that you had the kids and you had to get up for them, but what was that like? What was that like knowing that you had to get up out of that bed because life has to continue? You have to continue to be a mother, you
Yeah.
know. What was
It
that like?
it was hard. It felt like a weight. Just a weight. It's like,
Mm-hmm.
okay, I know I have to get up
Yeah,
because of my kids.
yeah,
I knew I still had, at that time a rent to pay, mortgage now. I had to,
yeah,
there were bills I knew I still had to take care of, and I
yeah.
knew I couldn't let them, but I also knew one thing that really helped me too to kind of get out of bed was,
Mhm.
and I don't mean to over spiritualize, but I do.
Please
Um,
do.
but yeah, was God. I mean,
Yeah.
literally, I remember I
Mhm,
was having a
mhm.
tough time.
Yeah,
And actually, before Steve passed, so you were talking about the anticipatory grief
yeah.
earlier, and, going through that, one thing I remember God distinctly saying, and it's in that Suddenly Single. So, guys, grab your copy of Venus's book.
Please.
Yes. And, I remember God distinctly saying,
Mhm.
He said, I never promised you that man would not leave you. But
Wow.
I myself said, I will never leave you nor forsake you. And I need you to trust me. And at that moment, I told God, I said, well, I trust you for a lot of things, but this one right here, I'm having a hard time with this one.
Yeah.
But those words kept coming back to me that he wasn't going to leave.
Mhm.
And it's like, okay, God, your word really is an anchor, because
Yeah,
at this point, that's all I've got.
that's it.
That's all I've got.
Mhm.
Because even though I
Mhm.
had family, I had friends, sometimes that just wasn't enough.
Yes,
I mean,
yes,
let's tell the real truth of Jesus.
yes,
Sometimes that just
yes.
wasn't enough.
Mm.
So sometimes I needed that word to sustain me.
Mhm.
And I remember I was going through a really difficult moment. And,
Yeah,
and I remember, I was, oh my God, how am I doing this? Here I am, a single mom again. I'm just having a really, really rough day.
yeah.
And I distinctly heard God say, he said, before Steve was, I am.
Come on now. Come
You know,
on.
and when he said that, he was like, okay, am I not the same God who took care of you as a single mother before? Am I not the same one who brought you out of your mother's womb and have carried you up to this great age that you are now?
Yes,
Am I not God enough to still carry you even without him? So
yes,
it was really leaning into that, really trusting that.
yes.
And that was very hard. That was
Yeah.
very hard. I
Woo.
I went through some anger. I was
Yeah.
upset.
Mhm.
I'm
Mhm.
like, are
Mhm.
you kidding me? Okay, I
Mm.
understand you want a healing, but did you have to do it like this?
Right.
I mean, couldn't we have figured something else out? This was
Right. Right.
non-negotiable. Yeah.
Right.
And
Right.
so I had to go through that moment of anger, distrust, and my wilding out
Yeah.
period to my rebounds and all
Yeah.
the stuff I went through.
Mhm.
But eventually what helped me to get out of bed every morning was my children and the word. Those were the things I really had to lean
Yes.
into.
Yeah. Yeah. Wow. Isn't it something how God when it's listen, when his purpose needed to come to pass,
Hmm.
honey, he's not playing with it.
And
Sometimes it hurt. It hurts bad
yeah, it
to the
does.
point. And it sort of kind of remind me of who was that the seven temptations or something like that. Can't
Uh-huh,
remember
yes.
who was that was on the ledge and and he was gonna jump off the ledge or something like that in the Bible. I gotta get back to my Bible, girl. I'm so bad.
Yeah, it's
But
okay.
it kind of reminds me of that, like,
Yeah.
where you're tempted, you know. I'm getting back to my Bible with that being said.
Yes.
My
Yes.
husband is girl, when it comes to the Bible, he know that Bible front,
Uh,
back, front. Girl, yes. So I need to be on it. I need to be on it. Okay. But
yes.
it's something how, when it comes to his purpose,
Hmm.
and it's listen, it's gonna come to pass whether you like it or not.
Yes.
And he ain't gonna let nothing happen to you. It's gonna feel like you're gonna die. It's
Yes.
gonna feel like you're gonna jump off that ledge, but
Yes.
you're not. You
Yes.
know, you're not. But Jan, I see you. I see you healing out loud. I see. What does it look like to you? Like, how do you see it?
Yes. For me, it's like you said, it's giving grief a voice.
I love
Advocating
that.
for your grief,
Yeah.
advocating for it, advocating for your healing. Because and I think that's what grieving out loud looks like for me,
Yeah.
advocating for your healing.
Yeah.
Because I always hear it especially with mental health being a big
Mhm.
thing now, that is very important, has always been, but we're now
Yes.
coming into the light of it. But I hear people state all the time, it's okay to not be okay.
Yeah.
That is so very
Mhm.
true. You
Mhm.
need to feel what you need to feel,
Yep.
but also advocate for your wholeness and your healing.
Yes.
And that's where it's like, that's for me what healing out loud looks like,
Yes.
advocating for the fact that I give myself permission to
Yes.
be whole again. I give
Yes.
myself permission to move again, to breathe, to love, to discover myself in this new newness. I'm just saying new
Yeah.
newness.
Right.
So
Right.
I given myself permission to reform and reframe my identity and my story from
Yes.
victimhood to being a victor. So
Yes.
that's for me, that's what living healing out loud means. It's not faking the funk. I don't subscribe to fake it till you make it, because it
Come on
doesn't
now.
work.
Me neither.
It doesn't
I
work.
used to, but not no more.
Yes,
Mm-mm.
yes. I tried it.
Mm-mm.
I tried it. and it was
Mm-mm.
not fun because I'm a
Mm-mm.
person, I can't hide my emotions on my face. So
No, me
if I'm
either.
mad, you will know it. If I'm
Right,
happy, you're gonna know it. If I'm sad, you're gonna know. So it's like, Jen, just be real.
right, right. I
Yeah.
know that's right. I love everything about you. This
Oh,
bill right here, what are we gonna do to celebrate? What are we gonna do to celebrate once
I,
it is final?
we're gonna take a trip somewhere.
Somewhere we're gonna have to. We're gonna have to. Oh, we did you tell Audra?
No, I didn't yet.
Wait till she see this. Let her see it. Woo! She is going, oh my goodness, because you know how she is, honey.
Yes.
Yes. So, Jen, I really appreciate you being here. What
Mm.
would you tell another woman who is going through the same thing right now? Like, and she is to the point where she's like, I'm no, I'm over it. I'm done. And this has happened to me. I didn't ask for this, blah, blah, blah. What would you tell her? Or any other woman?
Yes. I would tell her, hey, queen, hey, sis, I see you. I get it. I was you,
Hmm.
but you will survive. You will overcome and you will thrive. But you've got to give yourself permission to do so.
Yes. I love it.
That's what I would tell her. Give
Yes.
yourself permission to be human. Give yourself a chance. Sometimes we punish ourselves and we and we don't see it as that way. But I
Yeah.
want